Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Dolphins Roundtable, the home of the real Miami Dolphins fans. Let's get into this episode. We got a lot to talk about. Let's start with the head coach, GM presser reaction. Jeff Hafley and John Eric Sullivan have been named head coach and general manager. The main point of this, talk is good, but needs to be done through action. We've seen this before, Dolphin fans. These general managers come in, they say they're going to change the culture, they're going to do this, this, and that. Talk about building through the draft. We're going to bring in the right guys. We're going to change how we do things. And then it never happens. We saw this with Chris Grier before. And then with all the hiring of the head coaches, what they're going to bring in, nothing ever happens. So what I liked is, as much as I liked them saying all the right things, as a fan, I'm knowing this is the road we've already been down before. So why do I think this might be different? Well, building through the draft for one, let's just go over some things from 2019. This is when Chris Grier officially became the full-on general manager after Mike Tannenbaum was taken out of Miami. So then it wasn't him drafting, it became Chris Grier's job. So these are just some numbers since 2019, we've drafted 47 players. We still have 21 of them on the team. Now, think of 21 on the team, right? 19 through 23. So the 2019 draft to the 2023 draft, only 6 players from those drafts are still on the current roster. Impact players on this team, we have 3 right now. So 3 of the 21 players on our team right now are impact players. And if you were to include players that were to leave, that have already left Miami via free agency, via trade, it's more like 7 to 9 players that were impact players. That's just Miami. Now, let's go to where John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley came from. Since 2019, the Packers have drafted 69 players. They still have 36 of them. So far, those numbers are already better than Miami's. Since 2019 to 2023, those drafts, they still have 21 of those 36 players are from those drafts. And they have 14 impact players on their current roster. So 14 out of 36 are impact players. And including players that have left, free agency, trade, etc., they've had 21 that they've drafted. That's really good numbers when you're looking at it as a whole for what the Green Bay Packers bring to Miami. We're talking about the Packer way. So John Eric Sullivan's going to build through the draft. It's a prime example of what he's done before in Green Bay. He's been there since 2003, worked his way up, and we're seeing it on paper. We don't draft very well. Green Bay does. They develop players. We don't. So at the end of the day, when you see what they're able to do, now building through the draft is going to be the very key pieces. We have 5 picks in the top 100 this year. And just learning the salary cap went up. We'll get to that here in just a minute when it comes to strategy and how things are going to go about in terms of the moves John Eric Sullivan will have to make. But overall, the head coach GM presser was good. We're talking about quarterback strategy. I like John Eric Sullivan's response that we're not going to just draft a quarterback in the first round just because we have to draft a quarterback. No, we're going to address it the right way. We're going to look at everything. We're going to have quarterback competition. If they don't work out, we're going to draft a quarterback every year or every other year in order to get competition. And if it works out where you have 2 really good quarterbacks, 3 good quarterbacks, you have a lot of trade value. And I think when you look at Tua Tagovailoa, I think he could get another year and potentially should, because now you're bringing a new OC, a new system, a team that is hopefully going to protect him a little bit better than this year did. So maybe they give him another year because the dead money is going to be super high, and then it leaves him after the season, or trade him if he starts having a good year. Not really sure, but I think if you give him another year to see what he can do under a new regime, I think that will be ultimately the final piece in determining what the quarterback strategy will be. There's been some rumors about Malik Willis, if he's coming to Miami. But overall, I like the response of not just bringing somebody in just to bring someone in. They got to be the right person. They got to fit what we want to do and have the mental and physical makeup of what we want in this football team. Now, the last one is culture. Jeff Hafley was talking about culture, and I think this is, the biggest piece when we talk about talk is cheap. You got to be doing it through action. The 4 pillars that Hafley was talking about is toughness, trust, belief, and accountability. When you look at trust, you got to trust your players to do their jobs, and they got to believe in each other. When you trust that your other people are going to do their job, makes it really easy to do your job, because when you know if you do what you need to get done, everyone else will be able to do the same. When we're talking about belief, obviously we talk about a lot of noise outside, everyone keeps talking about, oh, this team is soft. It's soft, it's soft, it's soft. Eventually, people are going to start believing that. So when your players, Hafley's got to get them believing in themselves, and ultimately we'll be able to do that through the training camp, through the offseason workouts, and get this team in prime position for this season. The third one is toughness, because this team, I know I just said we're mentioning soft. I don't think they're as soft as everyone says they are. I think that they're not as tough as they were talking. All this talk going into the years was a new culture. Oh, we're gonna be much tougher, this and that, and it wasn't. Injuries did play a little bit of a part in that. But when you look at the team overall, this team was not very tough because they got pushed around up front. It needs to be one in the trenches, which is what Miami has not done very well at. And obviously, some of that's because of drafting, some of it's because of free agency decisions. But looking at this team as a whole, this team isn't as tough as it should be. And when you look at Green Bay Packers, they're tough. When you look at the good teams, they're tough. So you have to get to that level in order to compete with these teams, especially when it comes to playing cold weather games. Because when you're in cold weather, it's gonna hurt when you're tackling people. It's gonna be cold. Sometimes that grass is not gonna feel very good when you land on it, when you're making a tackle. However, you got to fight through it. You got to be tough. You got to win the battle in the trenches. And I think Jeff Hafley is a really good example of what we could do if we do this right. And the last one's accountability. Accountability. This is the biggest one. All this decision-making from Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel, it's a collaborative effort and all these decisions, that's not holding anybody accountable. You need accountability like, oh, John Eric Sullivan, okay, that's in his role. That's him. Okay, on the field product, Hafley coaching, that's on him. So when you look and you can decipher who is to blame for a certain thing, like if there's a bad decision that Hafley made that cost us the game, okay, he made a mistake. That happens. Obviously, he's not a first-year head coach in terms of head coaching experience, but he is a first-year NFL head coach. So there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be bumps and bruises along the road. However, when you talk about accountability, we got to have that on this team because we haven't had it in a long time, and people need to be held accountable because we can't have this people stinking around for years and years and years because it's all basically collaborative efforts. That's just not going to get the job done, especially in the NFL these days. And I think that's really that and toughness are the two biggest ones on this team that we did not see last year. There was no accountability because everyone was showing up late to meetings, showing up late to player-only meetings, not really caring because Mike McDaniel, basically when we were winning, goes, oh, it's okay, you can show up late, and then try to change the culture last year, and no one bought it. So I think from the get-go, Hafley's going to put his foot down. He's going to change the culture, start building this team into a winner, and ultimately it's from those pillars and what his mindset is. He's had to work hard. Talking about his journey from D3 up, he's had to work for everything he's gotten. So I think that he'll be able to resonate with the players, similar like what Mike McDaniel did. He'll be a little bit of a player's coach in terms of being able to connect, but at the same time, commanding the respect that it takes to be a coach and to win games in the National Football League. So McDaniel, he was more of a player's coach that line was difficult. Blake Ferguson talked about it recently that Mike McDaniel was too much of a player's coach. Let the players run the meetings and run how the day was going to flow. And you just can't have that and have success in the National Football League. So Hafley, I think, will do a great job there. The 4 pillars for culture, I think, is a huge one on this team, something we haven't really had in a long time. And building through the draft, I think, are really the 2 main points. Quarterback strategy is good to hear, but a lot of this is going to come down to actions and how they deal with free agency and then ultimately do it in the draft. So that's for the GM presser. Let's move on to the newest member of the Miami Dolphins coaching staff. The Dolphins have hired special teams coach Chris Tabor from the Bills for the same role. So now Chris Tabor comes from Buffalo to Miami. I think this is actually a really solid hire by Jeff Hafley, somebody with interim head coaching experience. He's been a coordinator for a very long time. He's had success at most of his stops, if not all of them. Let's just take a look at his resume here. 1997-99, he was an offensive graduate assistant coach for Missouri. He was there for 3 years total, but then in 2000, he became the running backs coach and special teams coach at Missouri as well. So multiple positions working his way up. From 2008 to 2010, the Chicago Bears assistant / special teams coach. So he started in the NFL at the special teams level. And then after his time in the Bears, he goes to Cleveland from 2011 to 2017, special teams coordinator. So there it is again, more experience. And as a special teams coordinator again. 2018 to 2021, he goes back to Chicago. This time he's a special teams coordinator again. So still using that experience. And then 2022 to 2023, he was with Carolina. And he was a special teams coordinator there. He was the interim head coach. He went 1-5 in 2023. And then in 2025, went to Buffalo and was a special teams coordinator there. So little summary, 14 years as a coordinator and an interim head coach twice. So some other facts, some positive ones for Dolphin fans. He's coached a trio of all-pro returners, including 2025, 3 of them. He coached Ray Davis this year to an all-pro, Devin Hester in 2010, and Josh Cribbs in 2013 in Cleveland, in which was just his second season on the job in Cleveland. So for the Browns, that's pretty good. And when he was a special teams coordinator in Carolina, he ranked 6th in the NFL in EPA. So that's really good. And he turned the team around from in special teams for Carolina, where they were ranked 28th when he took over, to being 4th. That's a 24 rank difference right there. He moved them up 24 spots. So that's really good, especially with a guy with a lot of experience bringing that in. And this year, despite all the bad that they had to deal with, was 6 kickers and punters, a combination just to make it through the season. He's been battle tested. And the Bills special teams is actually still one of the better units in that, better than Miami, better than some of the teams, better than I think at least 2 of the teams in the AFC East, but it's one of the better units in the National Football League despite the use of combination of punters and kickers. So he's been battle tested. He's battled adversity. This team is going to have a lot of that, especially under a first-year head coach. And depending on the moves we have to make, really depends on how we scrap this roster. But overall, bringing in someone with experience, somebody who knows the job, knows how to get the job done, and has excelled at that position, I think is ultimately important for Jeff Hafley. And ultimately, I think we're off to a good start for Miami. Let's move on to the next one. The biggest actual news that came out was Bobby Slowik got promoted. He was our senior pass game coordinator in 2025. Some of you know the name as he was the offense coordinator of the Houston Texans from 2022 to 2024. Well, I think he got the short end of the stick in Houston when you look at his resume. We're going to go through it here in just a minute. But overall, a top 15 offense with the Texans in C.J. Stroud's first year. They had a top 20 offense. The second year, it dropped a little bit. They made the division round both times, and then they fired him. So I'm not really sure the disconnect. Maybe they thought there needed to be a change. But overall, I think this is a solid hire. But we're going to go through the resume, and I'll break down exactly why I think he's a good hire. So 2010, started out as a video assistant with the Washington Redskins. Then moves his way up in 2011 through 2013 to be a defensive assistant with the Redskins at the time, now Commanders. He actually worked with Rob Jackson and Ryan Kerrigan. And actually, surprisingly, he had success at this position. Posted career highs. Rob Jackson posted career highs in tackles, sacks, and interceptions. And that was because Brian Arakpo went down with an injury, so Jackson had to step up. So he took on that role. And then Kerrigan earned his first Pro Bowl. And that was with Bobby Slowik coaching. So that's already good with the defensive assistant, and we're seeing some success. 2014 to 2016, he is a pro football focus analyst. So he's giving grades out. He's grading players. He did that for a couple years, and then he gets back into the NFL game, goes and becomes a defensive quality control coach for the 49ers. That's where he worked with Jeff Hafley. That overlap for 1 year. That was before Jeff Hafley went to Ohio State. Then Shanahan brings him over to the offensive side in 2019 to be an offensive assistant, and then moves his way up from offensive assistant from 2019 to 2020, goes to 2021, passing game specialist with the 49ers. While the passing game specialist, Debo earned AP first team All-Pro, first Pro Bowl, and Kittle earned a Pro Bowl as well, his second. So already success at 2 different stops when he's become an assistant or he's been the pass game specialist. We're seeing success at multiple positions and at multiple levels. And he keeps working his way up. 2022 becomes the offensive pass game coordinator with the 49ers. Then let's go to 2023. Works his way up. He's the OC now. D'Amico Ryan's got the head coaching job, brings in Bobby Slowik. So he already knows what Slowik can do because he was in San Francisco. And while he was with the Texans, top 15 offense in 2023. Yes, that was an easy schedule. That was like one of the easier schedules in the league. However, top 15 offense. They won the AFC South, and they went to the divisional round of the playoffs. Then, What did he do the next year? It dropped off a little bit, still a top 20 offense in the National Football League. They won the AFC South again and then made the divisional round where they ended up losing. But when we look at it as a whole, then he comes in to 2025 becomes a senior pass game coordinator with Miami. So when you look at it as a whole, Bobby Slowik as an OC is good. And when you're looking at what he did for the Texans, I mean, top 20 offense, top 15 and a top 20 offense, 2 years. They won the division twice. That's something Miami hasn't done since 2008. Haven't won in a playoff game since 2000. This offense needed to be changed up a little bit. I was calling for Bobby Slowik to be the OC play caller. Well, Mike McDaniel was there this last season. We started out so bad. I'm like, why not give Bobby Slowik a shot and see if we can turn this team around while McDaniel was the one taking care of all the head coaching responsibilities, because I felt that could have helped him a little bit. But he didn't do it. Nonetheless, he's out anyway. So Bobby Slowik, now the OC. I think the Philadelphia Eagles saw what I saw in Bobby Slowik, somebody who can bring a different mindset to the Dolphins offense. And he has a little bit of a defensive background a little bit, so that can help him a little bit in terms of when he's calling plays. However, ultimately, he's had success, a track record of it. He's moved up. So at the end of the day, I think this is a solid hire for Jeff Hafley. It'll be interesting to see if he's just a bridge or if he's going to be a head coach that could be potentially going to a head coaching role in the next couple of years. But a positive note of this is that we don't have to change personnel. He uses the West Coast offense, which is exactly what Mike McDaniel was using, so don't really have to change personnel as much. Hopefully we can draft that offensive line, build that up a little bit, and help Slowik out. But ultimately, I think not having to change personnel means maybe not as many roster decisions as we would have had to think had we brought someone else in who's never been an OC or never been a play caller before. So ultimately, great hire by Jeff Hafley here. Now, switching gears, let's go to the defensive coordinator update. Not much going on defensively. I think a lot of people are already expecting us to hire one person already, while we've interviewed only one other person. We've interviewed Clint Hurt. He's currently at the Panini Senior Bowl. He's the Eagles defensive line coach. We interviewed him on Saturday last week, right before the Senior Bowl. So not really a splash, like in terms of a big name, but ultimately he could be solid. But ultimately, everyone's thinking it's going to be Sean Duggan, the Packers linebackers coach, who's currently in everyone's mind the top candidate. I think this is because of his relationship with Hafley. Hafley's calling plays, and Hafley wants somebody that can run his system and knows how to coach what he wants. Because at the end of the day, he's going to be on the sidelines talking to the players during breaks, while Hafley's going to be monitoring the game throughout. So he has to be trusting that his DC is going to be able to explain what he wants and how he wants it done while he's coaching the game and managing it. So ultimately, that's where it's at right now. Duggan's everyone's expected top candidate and the favorite to land in Miami, while we've interviewed Clint Hurt. So we'll give up more updates as that goes along. But that's it for the defense coordinator update. We're going to now head on to the biggest question a lot of people have on their mind. Is Malik Willis coming to Miami? Is he 305 bound? I'm not too sure. As much as I think it wouldn't hurt to get another quarterback like a Malik Willis with his athleticism and his skill set. Ultimately, I don't want him in Miami, to be honest. The reason why, he's shown flashes this year when Love was hurt. But that's what we're talking about. Tua's shown flashes. Quinn Ewers in the couple games he showed some flashes. But nothing makes me jump out and go, oh yeah, I want to give him a big contract to be my starting quarterback. Now, does he have athleticism which helps his game? Yes. Is he a great passer? No. He's not. He still needs to develop. That's why he was a third-round pick coming in 2022 when he went to the Titans. Why has he moved around so much if he's such a good quarterback? Yeah, developing in Green Bay helps him, but ultimately, I don't think he's the right guy in Miami. I think we have two solid quarterbacks that we can win with. And if you bring in like a guy like Malik Willis isn't going to win a game on his own. He's got to have help around him. So when you are ultimately basically paying a guy like that, you're basically paying him to win games on his own, but we have two quarterbacks that can already do that. So why would you bring in a third guy and pay him a lot of money to do exactly what you already have two quarterbacks on the roster that can do? And the reason why a lot of people are connecting to Miami is because of his connection to Jeff Hafley. Nothing wrong with that. When you look at it, he's going to want a lot of money in free agency because of how decent or how great everyone thinks he was this year. Two solid quarterbacks. And to me, He's not a starting caliber quarterback. Now, had I thought that when he's coming out? Yes, but when you ultimately dig deeper into the tape, it's not there. So ultimately, I think it'd be the wrong move for Miami to go after Malik Willis unless it's for the right price and it's for the backup role, not the starter role. Because I think we have two guys on the roster that can ultimately win us games, same caliber as Malik Willis can. But that's going to do it here on the Dolphins Roundtable. I want to thank you for watching. Make sure to hit that like button down below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want the latest updates. I want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. I'm out.